Imagine the local sheriff hands you a crime scene photo, like right there in your office. The victim was stabbed 37 times in your bed in your pristine lake house.
Wow. Just an absolute nightmare.
Right. And the prime suspect, the guy whose DNA is just all over the room, is your husband.
Yeah, that is definitely not the kind of news you want on Tuesday.
No, exactly. So what do? Do you, divorce him, let the justice system swallow him whole, or do you put on a power suit and become his defense attorney?
I mean, that is the million-dollar question, right?
It really is. So welcome to this custom deep dive, crafted entirely for you. Today, we're opening the case file on this brilliantly constructed, just deeply unsettling psychological thriller. It's called The Perfect Marriage by Jeneva Rose.
And it is a wild ride.
Oh, absolutely. Our mission today is to unpack the anatomy of this story. We really want to explore how shifting power dynamics, festering resentment, and, deeply buried secrets can dismantle a relationship piece by piece.
And simultaneously build what looks like a completely airtight murder case.
Exactly. We're looking at Sarah Morgan, who is this powerhouse DC defense attorney, and her husband, Adam, who is, a struggling writer whose mistress ends up brutally murdered.
Yeah, and what makes this source material so compelling isn't just the mechanics of a locked room murder mystery. It's the intensely complex psychological profiles of the characters involved.
Right. It's so layered.
It really is. We're looking at a masterclass in power, perception, and, the terrifying capacity for self-deception that can exist inside a marriage.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I think starting with the very foundation of this relationship is key, since the murder doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right?
No, not at all. It builds up over years.
Yeah, we have to look at the architecture of resentment that sets the stage for the ultimate betrayal. So on one side, we have Sarah. She is a named partner at her law firm.
Total heavy hitter.
Exactly. She's working these grueling 13-hour days, routinely defending really high-profile clients like state senators. She is the absolute breadwinner.
She pays the bills, makes the decisions, carries the whole lifestyle.
Right. And then there's Adam.
Yeah, Adam's psychological state is incredibly fragile, and it has been for a really long time.
His career. Right.
Mostly, yeah. He's a writer who tasted this very fleeting, highly literary success early on. His first book actually drew critical comparisons to David Foster Wallace.
Oh, wow. That is a massive comparison to live up to.
It's huge, and the pressure of that comparison completely crushed him. His subsequent books were just complete commercial and critical flops.
Ouch.
Yeah. So you have a man who has been creatively blocked and totally, completely financially dependent on his wife for years.
It's a devastating power imbalance. And, reading through the source material, I noticed that Sarah, whether she realizes it consciously or not, she constantly reinforces that imbalance.
Oh, absolutely. She rubs it in a way.
Yeah. Take their 10th anniversary, for example. Sarah buys Adam a Patek Philippe Grand Complication watch. It is a wildly expensive gift, like maybe tens of thousands of dollars.
Which he obviously could never afford to buy for her.
Exactly. But it's the engraving on the back that really caught my attention. It says, just says 5,256,000.
Right, which is the exact number of minutes in 10 years.
Which, okay, put yourself in Adam's shoes for a second. On the surface, maybe she intends it to sound romantic, like, oh, I've counted every minute we've been together.
But it doesn't land that way at all.
No. Think about the weight of that object. It's calculated, and it's handed to a man who literally feels like his time is running out.
A man who constantly feels inadequate and unproductive.
Right. It feels less like a romantic gesture and more like a passive-aggressive stopwatch.
That is a great way to put it.
And then there's the lake house in Virginia. Sarah buys this sprawling, beautiful property in the woods, ostensibly as a quiet retreat for Adam to finally get some writing done.
But let's be real, she bought it.
Right. She controls it. She rarely even visits the place. It's like she constructed this very expensive terrarium to house her failing husband.
A terrarium, yeah. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we're observing a textbook case of emotional and financial emasculation here.
Because she's just so successful.
Exactly. Sarah's overwhelming high-octane success operates as a constant glaring mirror to Adam's absolute failure. And, human psychology abhors a vacuum.
It really does.
Adam is stripped of his sense of utility and traditional masculinity within his own marriage. He has no real purpose. So he seeks a space where he can feel powerful, desired, and in control.
He needs someone who is impressed by him, right? Not someone who pays his allowance.
Precisely. And that vacuum is what he tries to fill with his mistress, Kelly Summers.
I was trying to map out this dynamic, and it really reminds me of a corporate merger.
Oh, I like that. How so?
It's like Adam and Sarah's marriage started as a partnership between equals, but over 10 years, one side has quietly, effectively executed a hostile takeover.
Sarah's the CEO, the board of directors, and the majority shareholder all rolled into one.
Exactly. And Adam has just been demoted and demoted until he feels like an irrelevant intern in his own life.
That corporate analogy actually explains the exact mechanism of his infidelity perfectly. He has no equity left in the primary relationship.
So he just starts a new company.
Right. He opens a subsidiary branch without telling the CEO. He creates this secondary life where he gets to be the boss, where he dictates the terms.
But of course, his attempt to reclaim his masculinity through this affair just backfires in the most spectacular, horrific way imaginable.
Because it always does.
Yeah, his little quote-unquote escape at the lake house transforms into an absolute bloodbath, which naturally brings us to the locked room betrayal and the doomed mistress.
Right. We really need to look at the timeline and the introduction of Kelly Summers to understand just how quickly this whole thing spirals.
Right, because it happens fast.
Extremely fast. Adam meets her while she's working at a local cafe called Seth's Coffee down in the small town near their Virginia lake house.
And she's basically the anti-Sarah.
Exactly. She represents everything Sarah is not. She's carefree, messy, untamed, and completely unintimidating to him.
And the physical escalation is just instantaneous. I mean, within 4 hours of meeting her at the cafe, Adam brings her back to the lake house.
4 hours.
4 hours, and they're sleeping together on the bearskin rug in front of the fireplace. It's very primal. It's an addiction from day one.
But then, fast forward 16 months, and that exact same house becomes a slaughterhouse.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
The physical evidence left at the scene is completely overwhelming. Kelly is found in Adam and Sarah's bed. And she hasn't just been killed, she has been massacred.
37 times, right.
Yes. The report details 37 stab wounds to the neck, chest, and torso.
Oh my God.
And the lack of defensive wounds suggests she was asleep when the attack began. But her eyes were open when she was found.
Wait, really?
Yeah, indicating she woke up during the brutal assault and actually saw her killer.
That is so violently personal. I mean, anyone stabbing someone 37 times isn't just trying to eliminate a witness, you know? They are unleashing rage.
Pure rage.
But here's where it gets really interesting. I have to push back on Adam's internal narrative here, because his actions leading up to the discovery are just a masterclass in self-incrimination.
Oh, he really paints himself into a corner.
He does. As you read his perspective, he truly views himself as Kelly's savior.
Yeah.
Like, Kelly tells him she's trapped in a marriage with a highly abusive husband.
So Adam thinks he's the white knight rescuing the damsel in distress.
Exactly. But he is completely blind to how his own actions actually frame him as the ultimate villain on paper.
It highlights the extreme danger of internal narratives being entirely divorced from reality. What specific actions stood out to you as the most self-incriminating?
Well, okay, so the night she dies, they have incredibly rough sex. Adam leaves in the middle of the night to drive back to D.C. to see Sarah. But before he leaves Kelly a handwritten note on the kitchen counter. He actually writes, quote, "Tonight, I determine the ending."
Which is just the worst possible thing you could write.
It's terrible. And then he adds the postscript saying, "Please make sure you're gone before the maid gets here."
Unbelievable.
I mean, he literally leaves a battered woman alone in his wife's bed, writes a cryptic note about determining her ending, and tells her to sneak out like trash before the help arrives.
He thinks he's a hero, but on paper, he is a monster.
Exactly.
From a forensic and legal standpoint, the author has meticulously built an inescapable trap for Adam. I mean, that note operates as a killer's confession to any jury.
Oh, for sure.
Furthermore, Adam's DNA is found under Kelly's fingernails. His semen is present. He's the last person to see her alive.
And his alibi's terrible.
Non-existent, really. When pushed for details about the timeline of that night, Adam claims he, quote, passed out and can't remember a crucial chunk of the evening.
How convenient.
Right. Reality comes crashing down on his savior complex very quickly. He is arrested by local law enforcement, and the interrogation is incredibly violent.
He gets beaten up, right?
Brutally beaten in the interrogation room by Deputy Scott Summers.
And we should point out, Scott Summers isn't just some rogue cop with anger issues. He is Kelly's husband.
Right. Adam is sitting in a locked room, accused of murdering the wife of the deputy who is currently breaking his cheekbone.
It's a nightmare scenario.
The evidence is insurmountable. He's facing the death penalty in Virginia. He needs an absolute miracle to survive the legal system.
And the irony is just dripping here because that miracle is the very woman he spent the last 16 months betraying.
Which brings us to Sarah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This brings us to one of the most fascinating and frankly bizarre aspects of the source material, the ultimate paradox of the betrayed wife choosing to act as the defender.
The psychological compartmentalization Sarah displays is staggering. We really have to look at the mechanism of how she finds out about the infidelity.
Because it's not a normal discovery.
No, she doesn't find lipstick on a collar or read a suspicious text message.
No, she's sitting in the office of Sheriff Ryan Stevens, and she is handed brutal, graphic crime scene photos of a dead woman in her bed in her lake house.
She finds out her husband is a cheater and a primary murder suspect in the exact same breath.
She actually throws up in a trash can in the courthouse lobby.
Which is a very normal human reaction.
Yes, but wait, hold on. A woman finds out her husband is a murderer, a cheater, and she just wipes her mouth, puts on a power suit, laces up her Louboutins, and says, "I'm representing him."
It's a jarring shift.
It feels almost sociopathic. And legally speaking, isn't that a massive conflict of interest? How is a judge not throwing her out of the courtroom immediately?
Well, the legal ethics of this are an absolute minefield, you're right. In reality, a judge would heavily scrutinize this because her personal interests conflict so deeply with her duty to her client.
Yeah, what if she wants him to lose?
Exactly. If she secretly wants him to go to prison for cheating, she cannot provide effective counsel. However, if the client, Adam, expressly waives that conflict of interest, it can technically proceed.
Okay, wow.
But you brought up the word sociopathic. It's crucial to understand that her reaction isn't a lack of emotion. It is an extreme form of emotional management.
You mean the lawyer mode she switches into?
Precisely. Sarah's intensely analytical brain is her primary survival mechanism. By treating Adam strictly as a client, she creates a necessary emotional buffer.
Oh, I see.
Think of how defense attorneys are trained to distance themselves from the horrific crimes their clients commit. Sarah is just applying that professional distancing to her own marriage.
Because if she's the lawyer, she's in control.
Exactly. If she allows herself to be the scorned, betrayed wife, she's a victim. And Sarah Morgan's entire identity is built around never being a victim.
That makes so much sense. We see this defense mechanism perfectly illustrated when Adam's overbearing mother, Eleanor, arrives in town.
Oh, Eleanor.
Eleanor is awful. She sits across from Sarah and literally blames Sarah for Adam's infidelity.
Yep.
She basically says, well, if you paid more attention to him and didn't work so much, he wouldn't have strayed.
It is classic victim blaming, but it also explains why Sarah needs that armor. She is surrounded by people, Adam, Eleanor, the police, the media, who fully expect her to crumble.
And she refuses to give them the satisfaction.
Right. Her legal brilliance is the only tool she has to fight back against the chaos engulfing her life.
But, you know, the deeper Sarah digs to build this defense, the more the narrative fractures. We shift from focusing solely on Adam's guilt to uncovering the tangled chaos of Kelly's hidden life.
And this takes us right into a cascade of twists that introduces some serious reasonable doubt.
Oh, major doubt.
The author expertly peels back layers of information that completely subvert what we think we know.
Yeah.
The first major reveal comes from the autopsy report, and it is emotionally devastating.
Let's just pause on the emotional weight of this for a second. The autopsy reveals Kelly was 4 weeks pregnant.
Such a gut punch.
And the DNA confirms it was Adam's baby. This isn't just a plot twist. It is a nuclear bomb on Sarah's actual soul.
Because of their own plans.
Exactly. Because the source material points out that Sarah had just told Adam she was finally ready to step back from work and start a family with him.
That revelation just irrevocably shatters whatever remaining emotional trust existed between Sarah and Adam.
How could it not?
Right. But medically, the autopsy provides something else that completely changes the trajectory of the trial. Kelly had Rohypnol, a date rape drug, in her system.
Along with alcohol, right.
Yeah, alongside a blood alcohol content of 0.16, which is twice the legal driving limit. And crucially, the medical examiner finds a third unknown set of DNA present on the body.
So what does this all mean? It means the victim was heavily incapacitated and there is a ghost in the room.
Someone else was there.
Someone else was there. This completely alters the defense strategy. I was trying to map this out earlier, and Kelly, or whoever she really is not just a victim.
No, she's a mystery.
She's more like pulling a loose thread on a sweater and realizing the entire garment is made of razor wire. Every time Sarah investigates a lead, a darker, more dangerous secret emerges.
Because the background check Sarah's assistant runs reveals that Kelly Summers doesn't even legally exist. Her real name is Jenna Way,
And her past is a giant red flag. Jenna Way was previously married in Wisconsin, and she was accused of stabbing her first husband to death.
which is an incredible parallel.
Right. She only got off because crucial evidence mysteriously went missing during the trial.
Now, this raises an important question regarding the integrity of the law enforcement involved in her past. Who was one of the arresting officers on the scene of her first husband's murder in Wisconsin?
I still can't get over this part.
It was Scott Summers, the man who is now her current allegedly abusive husband, and the deputy who beat Adam half to death in the interrogation room.
It is mind-blowing. Scott helped her beat a murder charge, married her, moved her to Virginia, and changed her name. He essentially owns her.
A total captive situation.
Right. So Adam told Sarah that Kelly felt trapped, that she could never go to the police because her husband was the police.
Right.
Initially, that just sounded like the pathetic whining of a cheating husband trying to justify his affair. But suddenly, Adam's story has legitimate weight.
It does. And the physical evidence of this threat surfaces at the lake house. During a walkthrough with Sheriff Ryan Stevens, who, by the way, exhibits a highly unusual, almost suspiciously empathetic interest in Sarah, she discovers a hidden compartment in Adam's writing desk.
Inside is a gun, which is jarring enough for a guy who writes literary fiction, but there is also a manila envelope containing a photograph.
A very specific photograph.
Yeah, it's a picture of Adam and Kelly on the lake house property, clearly taken secretly by a third party from the woods.
Someone was watching them.
And written on the back in Sharpie is a chilling threat, NDIT, or I will.
Synthesize these revelations for a moment. We have a pregnant victim with a fake identity, a history of being accused of a knife murder, a husband who is a violent police officer with a history of tampering with evidence, a date rape drug, a third set of DNA, and a documented death threat.
It's a goldmine for a defense attorney.
Exactly. From a legal standpoint, these facts beautifully serve a dual purpose. They provide Sarah with the exact narrative of reasonable doubt she needs to present to a jury.
But emotionally, they utterly destroy Adam.
Oh, completely.
Because even as Sarah is finding the keys to save his life, Adam is sitting in a jail cell failing a polygraph test right as the district attorney officially charges him with a double homicide, seeking the death penalty.
He is totally out of time.
He is, and the only person standing between him and execution is a wife who now knows he impregnated a woman who is just a walking tapestry of lies.
It creates an incredibly rich tension. The legal victory requires exploring the darkest corners of the betrayal.
She has to dig into the dirt.
She must dive into the filth of Adam's affair to save him from lethal injection. But in doing so, she ensures she can never unsee who he truly is. She has to weaponize his infidelity to save his life.
It's just phenomenal plotting. It forces us to zoom out and look at our own reality.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously for you listening to this, you probably aren't dealing with hidden identities, corrupt deputies, and grisly lake house murders.
I certainly hope not.
Yeah, let's hope not. But the core theme here is universally relatable. It forces us to look at the facades we maintain in our own relationships.
The masks we wear.
Exactly. The stories we tell ourselves about our partners to keep the peace, and the deliberate blind spots we cultivate so we don't have to face the rotted floorboards beneath our own pristine carpets.
It really strips away the comfort of our daily assumptions. Which brings me to a final thought I'd like to leave you with, something that extends well beyond the pages of this specific case file.
I'd love to hear it.
In a relationship that is built on carefully curated images, the high-powered, unflappable lawyer who never loses, the brilliant, misunderstood writer who just needs time, the innocent, victimized cafe worker who needs saving, is true intimacy even possible? Or are we all, to some degree, just playing defense, carefully managing our image and waiting for the other person's deeply buried secrets to finally catch up with them?
It really makes you question how much of a marriage is love and how much of it is just mutually assured destruction.
That's a dark thought, but a fair one.
Well, that gives us plenty to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this custom deep dive. Keep questioning the facades, keep looking beneath the surface, and always, always stay curious.